It's precisely 8:45. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Anjana Dodamgoda, read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. The President says, regardless of race, religion, caste or political affiliations, all Sri Lankans must unite to heal and rebuild the country. Vesak celebrated all over the country with renewed vigour. 12 Vesak pandals adorn Colombo. Sri Lankan state enterprises open for private sector investments. The total water capacity of the main reservoirs in the country have reached to 80%. The Karapitiya Hospital to be designated as National Hospital. Motorists using Colombo Kandy Main Road cautioned. And in world news, Israel reprimands Irish, Norwegian, Spanish envoys over Palestine move. And in sports, Dilanta Malagamua wins GT4 car race in Italy. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said regardless of race, religion, caste or political affiliations, all Sri Lankans must unite to heal and rebuild the country. In his Vesak message, the President said, we must remember the advice of Lord Buddha, Sabbabhatta Sammanaso, to treat everyone equally and ensure we put into practice as a country. This is the greatest offering we can present to the Buddha on this Vesak day. The Vesak festival is a profoundly sacred day for Buddhists worldwide, commemorating the Buddha's birth, enlightenment and passing away. Buddhists in Sri Lanka, along with their brethren around the globe, celebrate Vesak with deep devotion. They spend this period engaging in religious observances and venerating the Buddha with fervent devotion. 12 major Vesak pandals will adorn Colombo for Vesak this year. These pandals are being erected at Maharagama, Kottawa, Homagama, Kiribatgoda, Paliagoda Navaloka, Paliagoda Fish Market, Totalanga Maradana, Koskas Handia, Demutagoda and Kalania. The first pandal, designed by a Sri Lankan female, Janani Aludenia of Pellebedda, will be displayed at Godakavela. The pandal at Panadura will be the largest in the world at a height of 82 feet and 86 feet wide. An exhibition showcasing the cultural and archaeological heritage will be held at the Temple Trees premises. There were 140 dansals registered in Colombo city, of which the largest number was rice dansals. The highest number of dansals has been registered in Borella and Narayanpeta. The Bauddhaloka Vesak Zone, organized by the All Ceylon Buddhist Congress, will be held from 23rd to 26th May from the Tumula Junction to Borella Cemetery roundabout. The Buddha Rashmi National Vesak Festival will be held from May 23rd to 26th with many features this year. The Ganga Ramya Temple, the Presidential Secretariat and the Prime Minister's Office have jointly organized this Vesak Festival, which is being held for the 16th consecutive time. Irrigation Director Engineer SPC Sugeshwara Bandara said with the current higher rainfall, the total water capacity of the main reservoirs in the country have reached to 80%. Accordingly, Deduru Oya Reservoir in the Kurunegala district, Rajanganaya and Angamo reservoirs in the Anuradhapura district and several reservoirs in the Hambantota and Mathura districts have started spilling. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing local news. Cabinet spokesman Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said today the Cabinet has approved the proposal to develop the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital as a national hospital. He told the weekly media briefing on Cabinet decisions that the Cabinet paper in this regard was presented by Health Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana. Cabinet spokesman said Karapitiya will be the third national hospital in addition to the two national hospitals in Colombo and Kandy. The Disaster Management Centre in Kegol said motorists using the Colombo Kandy main road are advised to be vigilant as there are risks of rocks and trees falling onto the stretch of the road at Pahala Kadugannava. Meanwhile, one lane of the Galle-Colombo main road has completely been blocked near the Kalutara bridge due to a fallen tree. The lane affected is the one running from Galle towards Colombo. Heavy traffic congestion was observed in these areas as a result. However, efforts were underway to restore the section of the road for vehicular movement in the evening. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
State Minister for Urban Development and Housing Arundhika Fernando announced that the state enterprises are now open to private sector investments, but only at the government's assessed value. This directive aligns with President Ranil Wickremesinghe's instruction that state enterprises should not be offered for private sector investments below their assessed value. State Minister Fernando highlighted the revival of regional development projects that were previously halted due to economic difficulties. Furthermore, valuable government land has been allocated for projects such as the Colombo Hyatt Hotel, Cress and Destiny. Regrettably, the investors involved in these ventures have left them. Presently, the Cress project stands as a lingering environmental issue characterized by a derelict building. Moreover, $60 million has been allocated to the Colombo Hyatt Hotel project, primarily sourced from public funds. Additionally, there remains a debt of $35 million associated with this project. The development has utilized a significant plot of land in Colombo. If an appropriate investor does not emerge, we are prepared to proceed with completion with the assistance of the armed forces with financing from the Treasury. That came to you in main news.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment said the Korean language proficiency test results related to the production and fisheries sectors have been released. The SLBC revealed that accordingly 3,422 of those who sat for the Korean language proficiency test have passed by obtaining scores over the minimum pass mark. The total figure of passed candidates is 95.6% out of 3,580 individuals who faced the test. Meanwhile, the relevant results will be made available on the official website of the SLBC on 27th of May 2024 and can be accessed via www.slbfe.lk, it announced. The SLBC also said the medical examinations of the passed candidates will commence on 28th of May. Furthermore, the relevant interviews will be held on 6th, 7th and 10th of June at all the provincial offices of the SLBC, migrant resource centres and training centres according to the SLBC. That came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Taking a look at the headlines of the world news, Israel reprimands Irish, Norwegian, Spanish envoys over a Palestine move. A child among at least 9 dead at Mexico election rally. Truecaller and Microsoft will let users make an AI voice to answer calls. Now the world news in detail. Israel reprimanded the ambassadors of Ireland, Norway and Spain on Thursday over their government's plan to recognize a Palestinian state, Israeli officials said, scorning the initiative as a bid to resurrect old failed policies. Announcing on Wednesday that they would recognize a Palestinian state on 28th of May, the 3 European countries said they wanted to help secure a halt to Israel's devastating Gaza offensive and revive peace talks that stalled a decade ago. At least 9 people have been killed, including a child, and about 50 have been injured after part of a stage collapsed at an election rally in Mexico's northern Nuevo León state, the local governor has said. The incident occurred as center-left presidential candidate Jorge Alvarez Maínez was delivering a speech in the city of San Pedro Garza near Monterrey. Mr. Marinez was uninjured in the collapse and was seen speaking to supporters following the incident. Several members of his team had been hurt, he said. The collapse was caused by a sudden gust of wind, Mr. Marinez said in a post on X. Footage has emerged apparently showing the moment the lighting structure collapsed as a number of people were on the stage. Caller ID company Truecaller will let users create an AI version of their voice to answer calls. Truecaller is an app that identifies and blocks spam calls that some people prefer over their phone's default system. Now the service will let users with access to its AI assistant to record their voice. The company partnered with Microsoft's Azure AI Speech, which will learn from the recorded clip to generate an AI version of the user's voice. That ends World News. Prior to concluding, the headlines of the World News once again. Israel reprimands Irish, Norwegian, Spanish envoys over Palestine move. A child among at least 9 dead at Mexico election rally. Truecaller and Microsoft will let users make an AI voice to answer calls. That ends World News.
Development News.
Cabinet of Ministers on Wednesday decided to upgrade the Bingiria Export Processing Zone as a total export processing zone. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the resolution furnished by the President Ranil Wickremesinghe to execute a consolidated development plan and entrust the responsibility of supervision and coordination of all the development activities under this plan to already appointed Task Force Bingiria Export Processing Zone, Industries and Investment Zones, Public Facilities, Access Roads, by roads and other relevant infrastructure facilities are being developed by now to upgrade it as a total export processing zone. 157 acres will be developed under Phase 1 of the project, whereas 282 acres under Phase 2 and an additional 666 acres of land under 3 would be developed respectively under this project. In order to obtain the most out of this export processing zone, it has been recognized to develop Iranavilla and Chilao as tourist attraction areas, to construct a golf ground in Chilao, and to join Iranavilla tourist zone to Bingiria export processing zone by a road. That came to in Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
Sri Lankan car racing champion Dilantha Malagamua once again proved his supremacy by winning the GT4 car racing competition in Italy. On his arrival at the Katunayake airport yesterday, he said, "I was the only Sri Lankan and the only Asian who participated in this tournament. This tournament is the biggest motor racing competition held in Europe, and motor racing champions from 30 countries participated at the event. Most of them represent European and American nations. 50 cars participated in this car race, where 2 drivers each joined for a 1 car. Dilantha Malagamua said 10 of the most powerful and advanced cars in the world were involved in driving, and I was driving AMG GT, a type of 4 car. Winners of this World Championship Series will be selected after 12 more races throughout the year. 4 more races will be held during next month, and he hopes to win this championship series and bring glory to Sri Lanka." That came to you in Sports News.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka tourism made headlines at the 31st edition of the Arabian Travel Market, which was held from 6th to 9th of May 2024 in Dubai, UAE. The travel fair was held at the Dubai World Trade Center in line with the theme of empowering innovation, transforming travel through entrepreneurship. This is the largest tourism event in Middle East which provides global exposure, business and travel opportunities for the tourism sector. That came to you in Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, the Central Bank on Tuesday launched Sri Lanka's first ever Financial Literacy Roadmap 2024-2028, in particular targeting to promote financial literacy among the youth and women in the micro, small and medium enterprise sectors. The 4-year roadmap was developed under the Financial Literacy and Capacity Building pillar of the National Financial Inclusion in Sri Lanka. The roadmap aims to serve as guidance for all financial literacy service providers in the country, offering directions to achieve such behavioral changes towards a financially literate Sri Lanka. That came to you in economic news.
Weather report.
Finally, we take a look at the weather report. Due to the southwest monsoon condition, the prevailing showery and windy conditions are expected to continue. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabarakamuwa, central, northwestern, southern and northern provinces. Very heavy showers, about 150 millimeters, are likely at some places in the Sabarakamuwa province and in Kandy and Nuwara districts. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters are likely at some places in western and northwestern provinces and in the Mannar, Galle and Mathura districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere of the island. Strong winds of about 50 to 60 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over western slopes of the central hills and in northern, north-central, western, southern and northwestern provinces and in Trincomalee district. Fairly strong winds about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times elsewhere of the island. That was the weather report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. The President says, regardless of race, religion, caste or political affiliations, all Sri Lankans must unite to heal and rebuild the country. Vesak celebrated all over the country with renewed vigour. 12 Vesak pandals adorn Colombo. Sri Lankan state enterprises open for private sector investments. A total water capacity of the main reservoirs in the country have reached to 80%. The Karapitiya Hospital to be designated as National Hospital. Motorists using Colombo-Kandy Main Road cautioned. With that, we conclude the news and over to my friends and certainly yours who's giggling away and trying their very best to keep you entertained until the end of transmission. Over to Mariela and Navindu.